So 4 years ago, the electoral map looked like this. Joe Biden won the presidency with 306 electoral votes. Donald Trump earned 232. And just 2 months ago, the electoral map looked like this. We saw a swing back in the direction of Donald Trump. So in this short video, I want to talk about how the electoral map changed, how the politics of this country changed over the 4-year presidency of Joe Biden. So I think the first thing you have to understand is that the electoral map is broadly not a very good indicator of what changed, because the only thing that, like, if I only showed you these two electoral maps, the only things you would have seen change would be the states that are in dark red, which are the states that flipped from Biden to Trump. So you would know that Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin all voted for Biden in 2020 and then returned to Donald Trump in 2024. But beyond that, for the other, 44 states, you would have thought nothing changed. But the first thing that I'm going to talk about that changed is that we literally saw, in just 4 or 5 years, a complete remake of the Democratic, or of the solidly Democratic coalition. In 2020, and by the way, this was considered a poor performance back then, Biden won California by 29 rather. He won New York by 23, and he won New Jersey by 16. And his numbers in New York and California were considered subpar for a Democrat. 4 years later, Kamala Harris, who was from California, won it by 20. She won it by 9 points less than Joe Biden. She won New York by less than 12, so she won it by 11 points less than Joe Biden. She won New Jersey by 6, 10 points less than Joe Biden. And so we saw incredibly disastrous turnout dynamics for Democrats in these states. In California, Kamala Harris got 9.3 million votes. Biden got over 11 million. In New York, Biden got 5.2 million. Kamala Harris got 4.6 million. In New Jersey, Harris got 2.2 million. Biden got 2.6 million. Mind you, these Biden numbers, first of all, were in the middle of COVID. And secondly, they were at the time considered standard for a Democrat. Given the number of people who turned out to vote in that election, the fact that Biden only got 2.6 million in New Jersey or only 5.2 million in New York was considered not that impressive. You want to talk about impressive, go to Barack Obama, or even in California, Hillary Clinton did better than Joe Biden despite losing her election. So clearly, something has changed fundamentally within the Democratic coalition. They're no longer winning California by 30. They're no longer winning New York by over 20. New Jersey might be a competitive, maybe not a swing state, but at least a competitive state going forward. And that all happened in 4 years. If you had came to me even in 2021 or early 2022 and told me that California was going to move almost 10 points to the right, New York was going to do the same, that New Jersey was going to be within 6%, I would have been shocked. I would have been absolutely shocked. But here we are. And so that's the first thing that changed, pretty massively over the course of the last 4 years, is that we saw blue states, deep blue states, move well away from the Democratic Party. And again, it gets even worse when you look at some of these more specific areas. If you take a look at California, you look at Los Angeles, again, Kamala Harris still did well here, I guess, but she only got 65% of the vote. And Joe Biden got 71%. And by the way, this was after a 5-point swing towards Trump in 2020. So if you go back to 2016 and Hillary Clinton, it would be even worse. Hillary Clinton got nearly 74% of the vote in Los Angeles. So Los Angeles County, 3 million votes for Biden, 71%. In just 4 years, Kamala Harris got 2.4 million votes, 65%. And again, another important thing here, Donald Trump's vote margin, it went up by a little bit, around 40,000 votes. Kamala Harris's went down by 600,000. There were 600,000 people in Los Angeles who voted for Joe Biden in 2020 who did not come out to vote for Kamala Harris in 2024. So that really shows you just at the granular level what happened. But it goes beyond that too. If we look at red states, Trump solidified. These states have solidified. Florida, which was, again, a swing state prior to 2020, became kind of a red-leaning state after Trump won it by a larger than anticipated margin in 2020. That state is now safe for Republicans, clearly. I mean, Trump won it by 13 points. And again, if we look at the raw vote totals just 4 years ago, he got 5.7 million, Trump did, in 2020. In 2024, he got 6.1 million. Joe Biden, while losing the state, got 5.3 million. Kamala Harris down to 4.7 million. And this was in a state that gained a ton of population between 2020 and 2024. Yet Harris got 600,000 fewer votes than Joe Biden statewide. That is incredibly bleak for Democrats. This is a state that is growing its 30 electoral votes that 10 years ago, Democrats were sure they were competitive in. They were sure it might even be moving in their direction. It's now completely gone for them. That is a state that had Florida gone on a different path over the course of the past 10 years, but even the past 4 or 5 years, Democrats would have a completely different outlook on the Senate and on the electoral map. However, because Republicans have done so well here, because they've essentially locked Democrats out, because they've crushed momentum here for Democrats, the state's off the board. And Democrats hope to offset that rather, in Texas, where even despite a relatively underwhelming performance in Texas, Biden still came within 6% of winning it. 2024, we saw Kamala Harris lose by almost 14. 14. She lost by even more than she lost Florida by, which was something that I certainly didn't see coming. And again, Texas gained even more people than Florida did since 2020. Biden got 5.3 million nearly. Kamala Harris got 4.8 million. She got 400,000 votes less than Joe Biden in Texas, which grew in population, which got even more diverse, which in theory should have become even more friendly to Democrats since 2020. Donald Trump, again, as you can see, 5.9 million in 2020 and 2024, well over 6 million, 6.4 million. So we saw functionally Trump gain around the same number of votes as Harris lost from Biden in 2020. Again, that wasn't all persuasion. A lot of it was turnout. We saw Democratic counties drop in turnout, while Republican counties stayed steady. But at the end of the day, still a shocking outcome. And again, even the states where the swings were less noticeable, they were still strong for Republicans. I mean, Alaska was supposed to be a state that trended left, but Trump did 4 points better there than he did in 2020. He got 55% of the vote. In 2024, he only got 53% in 2020. And again, if we look at the raw vote totals, Joe Biden got 154,000 votes here. Kamala Harris is down to 140,000, while Trump was up by a couple thousand. Then you go to the red parts of the Midwest. At this point, Ohio, a red state, Kamala Harris lost it by 11 after Biden lost it by 8. And this was supposed to be rock bottom for Ohio Democrats when Biden lost it by 8 in 2020. But Kamala Harris lost it by 11. Similar thing in Iowa. She lost it by 13 after Biden lost it by 8. So we saw the blue states, they got closer. The red states, they got redder. They got less close, especially in the South, especially in Texas and Florida. And even in some states we didn't talk about, like Mississippi, for example. This state voted for Donald Trump by 16 in 2020. He won it by like 23 in 2024. I mean, Alabama, 31-point margin for him, which was up from 25 in 2020. So the Deep South especially zoomed towards Trump. And this is an area that Republicans in these deep southern states that have been deep red, like Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, states that in theory Democrats should have no room left to fall, they keep falling. But finally, let's talk about the swing states. Now, obviously, the swing states moved a bit less. Democrats held on to more of their ground here. But at the end of the day, it was still really bad for them. And again, the one example I want to hone in on, because I want to keep this video short and somewhat digestible, at least to an extent, is Michigan. Michigan. Donald Trump won the state by 1.4% after Biden won it by nearly 3 in 2020. Look at these raw votes. 2.8 million for Biden, 2.65 million for Trump in 2020. Kamala Harris, 2.7 million. She was down. Trump, he got more votes than Joe Biden did in 2020 when Biden won this state. More votes. And by the way, even though turnout did fall a little bit across the board in 2024, 2020, this was a incredibly high turnout election, despite COVID, despite all that. Biden, and he got well over half the vote in Michigan. Donald Trump beat that raw vote number in 2020 while not even getting to 50% of the vote in the state. This is incredible. And I think the best way to end this video is Detroit. Look at Wayne County. When the Wayne County propelled Biden into office, when he entered office, and again, this was a bad performance. He actually only did about a point better than Hillary Clinton. So this wasn't that impressive. But Biden, 600,000 votes from Wayne County in 2020. 68% of the vote, over that. 2024, Kamala Harris got 63%, down to 537,000. So in just 4 years in Detroit, Democrats bled 60,000 votes. Donald Trump, 264,000 in 2020, 288,000, over that in 2024. in just 4 years. And by the way, this was one of the better states for Kamala Harris. Michigan swung roughly, actually a bit less than the country as a whole. So it was worse for Democrats in neighboring Ohio. It was worse for them, as I showed you, in California or in New York. It was worse for them in Texas and Florida. It was worse for them even in states that should have been good, like Alaska. And so Joe Biden entered office winning 6 of 7 swing states, and, wasn't an amazing performance. He left a lot to be desired for Democrats, but he got the job done. And more often than not, the results he got were results that Democrats would have been pretty happy with. Sure, he didn't do all that well in South Texas or parts of Florida. He didn't really put Ohio on the board, but he won where it mattered. In 2024, Democrats, as Biden leaves office, Democrats have a map that looks a lot more daunting. A lot more daunting. And so, as Trump enters office, I'll keep talking about politics, obviously. We're going to keep looking at these elections. But this map changes so much over 4 years. And I think you can spin this either way. You can say, in 4 years, Democrats lost an advantage in the Electoral College. Or you can say that things change in 4 years and that by 2028 or 2029, the next time I make this video, hopefully, maybe Democrats will be in a better position. So let me know what you all think. Let me know what you view the single biggest takeaway, or your single biggest takeaway from the Biden administration and its impact on the electoral map. But I think by far the most shocking thing that we saw in this electoral map relative to 2020 was the trends in Los Angeles, in New York, in Newark, in deep blue cities. And I'm fascinated by this. I want to keep talking about this for a while. Deep blue cities keep getting redder. Democrats are going to have to grapple with that question likely for a while. So with that, I'll leave you all with that, and I'll see you all in the next one.